And welcome back. And I'm about to say welcome back to another episode of Total Sports Live podcast, but that is not it. That is not it at all. Welcome to the first of many, hopefully, episodes of The Road to Sunday. You might see, if you're watching this on YouTube, you might see the Total Sports Live banner on the background. Do not be afraid. It's not Total Sports Live. It is The Road to Sunday here with Jovan Alford, joined by my guy, Chris Shanafelt. As I've said probably before many a times, you have probably heard us together do many a shows over the years, whether it was the Total Sports Live podcast. Most recently last year, we talked about the Bears going 0 and for about the Bears starting 0 and 2. And boy, did that short turn around for the Bears in a big way. Maybe we were the good luck charm for that team. If you might have heard us there, you might have heard us on the CS podcast on air with Chris Shanafelt for the last 5 to 10 years. It's crazy to say that. I sound pretty old by saying that, but
it's crazy to think, man. Time flies.
Time sure does fly, especially when you look at it from the sports lens. And that's what we're going to do here on the road to Sunday. We are going to bring you guys a different type of football podcast, not just your regular, this was going on around the NFL this week. Like something a little bit more different that can appeal to both the Chicago Bears fan, but also the Philadelphia Eagles fan. Meaning, each show we're going to talk about what's going on in the Windy City with the Bears, who are ascending under second year, as I'll say second year head coach Ben Johnson. And we're also going to talk about those Philadelphia Eagles because there's always something going on. Always something going on with the Eagles. So you're going to get a mixture of those things every time we do the podcast. Then at the end, towards the end of the show, we're going to go around the league, touching on topics that are involved in the league, but maybe some things that might have missed your radar and not so much the things that you probably got the ESPN alert about. It's something that might have not skipped your alert, and we thought like this might be something that football fans might want to watch out for and might want to keep an eye out for going forward. But Chris, man, I'm so excited to be doing this pod with you. I remember texting you about this idea, like, hey, I just had this idea and I think we should do it because we've always talked about doing a pod together that was kind of like Philly, Chicago centric, and there's perfect time to do something about that too because those White Sox are like cooking with the South Side Samurai. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be doing this pod with you, man.
Yeah, man. Likewise. I mean, it was as soon as you sent the text, I'm like, I'm all in. Let's do it. This has been something that has been years in the making. I think is safe to say. Something this Philly and Chicago centric type of thing. So very, very excited to do it. And I had a rep with the Sox finally being able to squeak one out against the Cubs. It's a even series to end the season until maybe they meet up in the World Series. Who knows? But yeah, probably not too much baseball talk going on here. But the football season is right around the corner. Preseason got underway last week, so very excited to be here.
Yeah, man. Like you said, not a ton of baseball talk because I could talk about the White Sox pretty much for like the entire show and just how good Miguel Vargas and Colson Montgomery and Murakami have just been so good. But that's a whole nother pod. That's a whole nother pod for a whole nother day. So, like I said, it's the road to Sunday. As you see, that's the title of the show. You always think about why Sunday because teams are leading up to play on Sunday, especially in the NFL. So that is the thought process and idea behind.
Although this time next year or a couple years from now, there might not be a road to a specific day. I mean, you already got Wednesday, the league kicking off on a Wednesday this year.
Oh God,
you got the Saturday games seemingly more and more every year. Black Friday, so
oh my gosh, Black Friday, what Thanksgiving Eve?
Yeah, that's right.
Now this year, like NFL is just
Eve.
Yeah, Christmas Eve, like NFL is just Christmas Day, like NFL is just literally just trying to block out our entire calendars. Like before we know it, there'll be Tuesday night football and they're going to be like raining on Maction, and that's going to really make me upset because I like my Maction on Tuesdays and Conference USA's on Wednesdays. Like I need that. So let's get underway here. Not going to talk about the Eagles just yet, but we are going to talk about your Chicago Bears, which they've been at training camp underway at Hollis Hall. first preseason game was last weekend against the Cleveland Browns. For many of us that wasn't in Chicago, we were delighted a chance to see your Bears in action on NFL Network, which was fun to see. What the Bears have been doing in camp so far. No starters played in the game, Chris, but there were a couple of interesting takeaways from that game, and we also found out after the game, more so earlier this week, that Kyle Monungai is dealing with a hyperextended knee, which is never good. That didn't happen in the preseason game, happened in practice, but never a good thing. So break it down for me. What is going on with the Bears? What were just some of your early preseason thoughts from the first game, and then obviously we'll jump in and talk about Monungai.
Yeah, I mean, so like you said, most of the starters didn't play for the Bears last week against the Browns. They got off to a slow start, down 10-0. They end up winning the game 34-10. So you like when that happens. I mean, it wasn't a game that went. Now we're talking preseason here, of course, and again, very, very low amount of starters played in this game, but it wasn't a game like last year where it came right down to the wire, and somehow, some way, more times than not, the Bears were able to find a way to get the victory. But there were some starters out there. I seen Devin Bush, the newly signed linebacker from the Browns, former first-round pick. He was out there in the first quarter making some plays. Case Keenum looked really sharp. Tyson Bagent started the game. He's going to be the backup for the Bears this season. It seems like he's looked at, and I think rightfully so, as one of the top backup quarterbacks in the NFL. Pretty crazy to think about seeing his journey from Shepherd University to the NFL. He's really, earned his spot with the Chicago Bears, and there was some talk in the offseason about some teams possibly trying to trade for him, whether it be the Raiders before they signed Kirk Cousins, or I think Arizona was floated out there during the offseason as well. He had an okay game. He did have a pretty bad interception early on, but he got over that, and he's actually now dealing with a hamstring injury that has kept him out of practice this week, and it does not look like he's going to get the start for the second preseason game this coming weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. I'll tell you what, though, one guy that really stood out was Caden Davis. And you probably know more about Caden Davis than I do, Jovan, knowing how you cover the USFL, or is it now just the UFL?
Just the UFL.
That's right. Pull the Jordan Schultz there. But he had 4 catches, 88 yards on 6 targets, and his very first catch was like over 30 yards on, I believe, the down the right side of the field. An amazing catch. He had a couple of great catches throughout the game, so that was nice to see. Again, slow start for the Bears all in all, but they were able to pull out the victory in dominant fashion, 34-10. On the Browns side of things, not a great day for both sides, offense or defensive side of the ball. Everyone's paying attention to the quarterback position, of course, with Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. That still seems to be a pretty big competition, one of the few competitions in the NFL for who's going to get the starting job there. I don't think any decisions were made based off this last game, but it was nice to see. Again, it's just preseason, pretty much a scrimmage, as they say, but it was nice to see the Bears, get a dominating win in the first preseason game of the season.
Yeah, the Bears preseason game was way more exciting than the Eagles preseason game. I'll tell you that much. It was way much more exciting. Like you said, Caden Davis, like you said, he did his thing, and it's always interesting to see, guys that play spring football, and they are already more so than some of the NFL guys. You're already in game shape because they played earlier in the year. And Davis, like you said, he's actually bounced around the NFL a little bit. Time with the Browns, the Cardinals, Denver, more so like a preseason like type of guy that just always finds his way into a training camp. The D2 guy at that, like, just always finds his way into a camp. Like you said, USFL, he was with the Michigan Panthers this past year. was with the Houston Gamblers in the UFL, which was coached by Kevin Sumlin. Quarterbacks were Nolan Henderson, Hunter Deckers, Talia Tagovailoa, John Reese Plumlee. So like a lot of quarterbacks that he had to play with, and he didn't really have a big year receiving wise, as that team was more so built around the running game, but he was effective in the return game, which was good to see. He averaged 27.5 on kickoff returns, and the same thing what he did with the Panthers. When the Panthers used him in the USFL, he was on the return duties at 25.9. So I think if you're a Bears fan, or more so like Ben Johnson, you like guys like that can, play special teams, because for a guy like Davis, that's probably going to be his calling card, right? If he wants to make this Bears team, because of the talent that they already have at wide receiver, you're going to have to do it on special teams. Like another guy in Mo Alexander, USFL guy, he's found a way, obviously was with Johnson in Detroit, and he's made a way to stick in Chicago. And I think he scored a touchdown on Saturday. Right. Which was good to see, because I think for most people, they just know Alexander as just the return specialist, because that's what he was really good at with the Philadelphia Stars. But I think he also did have some receiving. He was also utilized really well as a receiver with Case Cookus. He was actually probably the better wide receiver than Corey Coleman. There's a blast from the past. There's a blast from the past there. So I agree with you about Caden Davis. Another thing that stood out to me from last Saturday's game was the running game in particular. I thought Roschon Johnson, I thought that he ran the ball really well, and I think that was encouraging for him, because he looked like the guy that I think we all expected him to be coming out of the University of Texas. But obviously injuries have like really been like a real bugaboo for him, and you were wondering even last year, like, okay, like the Bears aren't playing him, like Britton Brown is getting playing time, like is he going to survive the offseason? Is they going to trade him at the deadline? Like, what's happening? So to see him get healthy, to see him be healthy, and to have a couple of nice runs where he showed off just that acceleration and that burst that I think that we all wanted to see from him early in his Bears career, I think that was a positive sign too.
Yeah, and he's a bit of a bigger back too. Ideally, you would want him to be that number 2 guy behind DeAndre Swift. Well, unfortunately, as you mentioned, health concerns really throughout his entire career, short career so far here in Chicago. But they drafted him in the 4th or 5th round a few years ago, and he's rarely been able to be on the field. And, you take him coming out of Texas. Of course, he was the backup to Bijan Robinson in his college days, and he was a stellar special teamer, and we've seen glimpses of that in Chicago. But again, it all comes down to health. And he's had a number of concussions. He's wearing the special padding, the Guardian cap on top of his helmet in games, and it was nice to see. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air to actually see him get reps at running back. And kind of do his thing, as we've seen on Sunday. That was really nice to see. I'm not sure what the future holds for him. I mean, it sounds kind of cold, but you don't know if you could really trust him to stay healthy moving forward. And I think, they even thought that last year. They ended up taking a swing on Kyle Monangai in the 7th round, who I think you and I know it's easy to say now, but you and I were kind of surprised that he was there in the 7th round for him to get drafted there.
Because he was so good at Rutgers. So
exactly,
good. Like
exactly. Never fumbled a snap in his college career at Rutgers. Has yet to fumble a snap in the NFL. Hope I didn't jinx him. But hopefully the injury to Kyle Monangai that he suffered earlier this week is nothing too serious. I know they're saying it's a hyperextended knee, and that there's a good chance he's back by week 1. But you just never know with the running back position and those type of injuries. Obviously, DeAndre Swift is the number 1 guy. He's been having a really good camp too. So you don't want to rush Kyle Monangai back, but you've seen how big of a piece he was to this offense last season. And Ben Johnson has been on record that this offense this offense starts with the running game, and that it's the most important part of the offense, and that only makes things easier for the passing game. So losing a key piece like Kyle Monangai could be big for this team, but hopefully guys like Roschon Johnson, maybe Salvin Ahmed, maybe those guys can step up in the absence of Monangai if he does have to miss time in the regular season.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you about Salvin Ahmed because I know you were pretty excited to see him on Saturday and how he, ran the ball. I think he's another guy that dealt with some injuries. I think the last couple of
Mm-hmm.
years bounced off, on and off, rosters. And it's funny, right? Because I think coming into obviously the preseason, you're like DeAndre Swift is one, Monungai's two, RB3 is like
Wide
wide
open.
open. And now with Monungai being hurt, it's truly wide open. Like this is literally like anybody's ball game. You got Johnson, you got Ahmed, and then on top of that, Britton Brown as well. So
Right.
it's this. I know a lot of people, probably a lot of fans probably don't pay attention to like who's going to be RB3 on their team or like RB4, but like the Bears, I think this is probably going to be one of their more fascinating, one of their more fascinating roster battles these last two preseason games because with Monungai down, like all these guys literally have an opportunity to show Ben Johnson, and Eric Studesville like that they can be the guy on that team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was pretty excited when they signed Salvin Ahmed. I know he's a long shot still to make the team. Again, you got DeAndre Swift, you got Kyle Monungai, or those guys are pretty much locks at this point. So yeah, it's running back 3, maybe running back 4, maybe they hold 4. I know they did in years past with Roschon Johnson and Travis Homer. Travis Homer no longer on the team. Roschon Johnson certainly battling out for a starting or for a position on this team this season. So the competition is definitely there. Even when Britton Brown has gotten in games the last couple of years, or more specifically last year, he's played pretty well. And honestly, I actually gave him a little bit more of an edge over Roschon Johnson just because of dependability, sadly. And that mixed with what Britton Brown was able to do on the field, he's had some pretty good games with the Bears last season. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of the more interesting battles for that running back 3 position in terms of this entire team.
Yeah, and before we jump to the Eagles, we talk about position battles and just kind of shakeups there. The offensive line seems like there's a little bit of a shakeup there because Avi Trapillo is back. Like, and I don't think no one saw that coming because of the nature of the knee injury or the knee leg injury that he suffered last year, I think within the playoff game. And the diagnosis, you're thinking he might not be back this upcoming season. So the Bears need to draft somebody. They need to have all their ducks in the order to kind of, just protect themselves because we don't know when he's coming back. And obviously they bring in Jedrick Wills, they bring back Braxton Jones, and it doesn't really excite a lot of people for various reasons. But Trapillo's back, Chris. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because when I saw that news, I was surprised. I was just like, what? Like he just got hurt in January and it's
Right.
August.
So it felt like a playoff game. It was actually that last game against the Packers in the end of the regular season, end of December. I mean, when you're talking about a ruptured Achilles, whether you talk December or January, it kind of goes out the window. That's like a year plus type of injury, especially for someone the size of Ozzy Trapillo. That's huge news. I mean, he was this time last year, there was a lot of people disappointed and not really sure what to think about Ozzy Trapillo being a rookie second-round pick. He did not turn heads in training camp. He was kind of a disappointment this time at last year. And then the season plays on, injuries happen, and they kind of throw him out there at left tackle. Now, remember, he played most of his time at Boston College at right tackle. So throwing him on the left side, it just seemed to click for him, and he was the answer on the left side last season for the Bears. He played really well. Devastating injury, and it was just a shocker. I think a week or 10 days ago, Ryan Poles say that, we think we could have Ozzy Trapillo back by the end of training camp. I mean, that shocked everybody in the city of Chicago. And now here we are. He's activated off PUP. He's practicing. It's very unheard of, especially with the extent of this injury. This is an injury that, again, takes a year plus for guys to come back. And here we are, 8-9 months later, and he's already in practice form. And I don't know if he's going to be ready by week 1, but
Right.
the fact that we're even talking about that is pretty insane.
Yeah, it is definitely insane, and I think if you're the Bears, like obviously you're excited that he's back, that you can activate him off a pup. Like I don't know, like if you are going to just phantom IR him to start the season and not rush him back
Right.
because you do have Braxton Jones and you do have Jedrick Wills. Granted, they're not the same level as what Trapillo, showed. Jedrick Wills, when healthy, could be that. And I think if you're the Bears, you're comfortable in okay, we don't have to rush Ozzy back because we at least have these two guys that in a
Well,
pinch can hold it down.
now I should have mentioned this when going on that tangent about Trapillo. The Bears actually announced this week that Jedrick Wills and Karan Amagaji will no longer practice on the left side anymore because of their performance against the Browns. I
Wow.
guess they're that unhappy about that, and they'll only be practicing now on the right side, which Theo Benedict was practicing on, and now they have moved Benedict back to the left side as he's seen some snaps at left tackle last season. So it seems like the left tackle position as of right now is solely between Braxton Jones, Theo Benedict, and Ozzy Trapillo. And you got to think it's going to be Ozzy's job when he does come back. Maybe they just hope that between Benedict and Braxton Jones, Braxton having the upper hand right now, hope that I think they're just hoping that they could hold it down for at least the first couple of weeks of the season until Ozzy's ready.
Yeah, for sure. And Benedict, he was the preseason star last year of just like, oh my gosh, like who is this guy? Like, where did he come from? Like, and he's
Yeah, if
fitting.
you remember Hard Knocks a couple seasons ago, the Canadian Eagle.
I didn't even know that was his nickname, but I just remember watching some highlights last year, and I was just like, they were just like, he's good, and the PFF grades were like outstanding.
Yeah,
Obviously, in the regular season, he went through his growing pains because you're going up against better competition, but it's still not a bad option. Move him from the left side, and then, like you said, Wills and Kieran going to the right side. It's a little bit disturbing, more so for Kieran because I think a lot of Bears fans are waiting for the other shoe to drop with him.
yeah.
Is he going to make the 53?
Yeah, that pick always seemed a little bit like a reach, and unfortunate for him coming out of Yale. I think it was Yale.
Yeah, it was Yale. Yep.
Having an injury that stopped him from playing in the Senior Bowl, totally derailed his rookie season. Got in at the end of the season, and just got harassed by the Minnesota Vikings defensive line in his one and only career start. So I mean, I'm not sure what I would say he's on the fringe of making this roster as of right now.
Well, he's gonna need some next couple good preseason games. So
Definitely.
next week we will check in to see what happens in preseason week 2 for the Bears. Who did the Bears play in week 2 for this week preseason?
Cincinnati, who I believe the Philadelphia Eagles play week 3.
Yes, that probably will. That will be an interesting game, especially for Eagles, knowing how their preseason has gone. So I guess we should go there next, right? Guess we should
Yeah. Let's go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I know they're doing the joint practices with the New England Patriots that just kicked off, and we got to start right there.
Okay.
Of course, the AJ Brown reunion. These practices are being held in New England, right, or Foxborough?
Yep.
Okay. So I mean, that would have just added a totally another twist to it if he was coming back to Philly in a New England uniform. But what's been the latest on these joint practices between the Eagles and the Patriots? And I mean, what's the latest with AJ Brown? I mean, and I seen he spoke with the media after practice today. Was there any newsworthy comments made by him?
Well, let me just say I think joint practices sometimes can be overanalyzed to a T from beat reporters, and one group is saying this team won, the next group is saying the other team won. But we'll talk about joint practices coming up. But in terms of what from what was coming out of New England today, very entertaining, energetic joint practice. I feel like from the clips I saw, you would have swore it was an actual game because like there were Eagles fans up there too. So like the atmosphere felt like I was texting some people and I was like, am I sure this is a joint practice? Because for some reason it sounded like an actual game was like happening, like just the all the energy that it was there because obviously Brown is facing his team, and obviously from the reports out in New England, he had a good day, which I did not expect. I mean I not that I did not expect. I expected that to happen because it just seems like that's just been the going case up there, since he's got there in training camp. He's been just doing what AJ Brown does, and obviously he definitely still got some bursts left. He still got some speed left. The one clip that everybody probably saw was the him going 1-on-1 against Quinyon Mitchell. And don't get me wrong, he had Quinyon beat a little bit off the line of scrimmage and got in front of him, but Quinyon was able to stay with him, knock the ball out of his hand at the last minute, which is typical Quinyon Mitchell. That's what Quinyon does. Unless he's getting an interception, one of the best cornerbacks, I think, in the one of the best cornerbacks, I think, in the NFL. But
that play was headed towards the end zone too, right?
Yeah. But I think it was like a go route almost type situation, and the fact that, like I said, AJ definitely showed off his burst in that. Like no lie, like I can't even front. Like he looks healthy. AJ looks healthy, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has a big year in New England. And just overall from what was said out of there, from what we read, obviously AJ, they asked him, had he talked to Hurts, since he got traded. He said no. Um, other reporters are trying to ask him certain questions about his tenure in Philadelphia. He tried to say, whatever's in the past is in the past, like really not trying to go there, which again, I have my own thoughts on. I have my own thoughts on that. Like, and in one way, I understand why he said that, because granted, he's with a new team. He doesn't want to look backwards. But for a lot of people outside of the Maria Taylor interview, when he first when it was announced that he was going to New England, the last time Eagles fans didn't hear from him for a long time because he didn't speak. He didn't speak after the playoff game was over.
Right.
He left. He didn't speak when they were cleaning out their locker rooms. He didn't speak. So literally, this was like the first time that he spoke. I think they asked Hurts about they asked Devontae Smith, did he talk to AJ Brown's? Devontae said nah. They asked Hurts about it. Hurts said he didn't have a chance to catch up with AJ after practice. And he also said that he got a lot of love for him, and he always have. So, nothing that I would not expect Jalen Hurts not to say. Like
right.
That's when I heard that, I was just like, that's Jalen Hurts in a nutshell. Like that's him. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened out of joint practices. A lot of AJ Brown stuff. Dontavia Wicks had a couple nice catches. I'm really excited to see what Wicks does.
It seems like he's had a really good camp in general, right? I mean,
yeah.
I think it was Saquon. Was it Saquon that said, I can't believe they let us get this guy?
Yeah, no, he's been having a good camp, and it's needed because Mekhi Lemon is still working his way back from the hamstring injury, the rookie wide receiver there. And obviously, in a perfect world, you would love it to be, Devontae and Lemon and Wicks as your three. But got to give it the credit, got to give credit to Wicks. He's coming in and really showing it. I think for him, he's going to come in here trying to prove a point that, while he was good in Green Bay, a solid part, like I feel like this is an opportunity for him to even step into that role, much more in a passing game that is going to mimic a lot of what Green Bay's concepts are. And he's familiar, obviously, with the Green Bay concept. So, yeah, pretty much that was the main thing that came out of joint practices. Obviously, former Eagle Milton Williams,
That's right.
He's obviously, they got a chance to go up against him as well. I'm trying to think anything else. Fangio talked about Jonathan Gennard before. I think they asked him about Grenard going before practice. Doesn't sound great on that end about if he'll be ready for the regular season, as he's still dealing with his injury. I think it's the pectoral I think he's dealing with. So not great in that instance, but the Eagles obviously have some pass rushers that they can lean on there. And I think they have another joint practice on Thursday before they play each other in the preseason game at Gillette. So one more day of joint practices. We'll see what happens. But first, obviously, the first day of joint practices, everybody's going to get the buzz and saying,
Right.
did AJ go talk to him? Did they
Yeah.
go talk to AJ? What did AJ say?
Yeah. You already know that's coming. I mean, that's going to be going on until after the game, Saturday. So I mean, that question will be asked probably another 50 to 70 more times.
Yeah. 100%. 100% it will be.
But before going ahead and talking about the actual game against the Patriots, we of course got to go back to last week. I know you seemed not very not too happy about the performance last week. They played the Baltimore Ravens 24-7. I didn't get a chance to watch the game. I caught some of the highlights. You and I both were big fans of the rookie quarterback for the Ravens, Joe Fagnano. Of course, they recently picked up Austin Reed as well. They both had pretty good games, I think it's safe to say. But you would know much more on this one than I. 24-7, just the preseason game one. Yes. But what were some takeaways here?
Quarterback competition. The quarterback 2 competition is still wide open, and that is not a good thing. Andy Dalton got the start. Dalton did not look great at all. I think he only had like 20 passing yards, and I think most of them came on the first offensive drive. Like he did not inspire confidence in me that he could be the backup, which is more of a damning, I think, indictment on Tanner McKee, who also did not look great in that game, which I think is surprising for a lot of people because there's a contingent of fans, Eagles fans.
You got that right. I don't even think they're just Eagles fans. I know some Bears fans that still go back and go, I mean, now that we got Caleb Williams as well, but I remember when Tanner McKee was drafted and there were some fans that wanted the Bears to give him a shot.
Don't get me wrong. Tanner has some skill. Like he has an arm. I will say that, but there is some limitations to his game in terms of mobility. I think in today's NFL, it's hard to win with a 6'6", 6'5" pocket passer. Like just the game's just faster. The game's more wide open. But he didn't play well in this game. The offense as a whole just didn't look well. And granted, it's preseason, so you're just trying out different things and just various different, concepts and things. I will say from just a concept type situation, I did like seeing some of the things that we did saw from Sean May, and I did like seeing the jet sweep to Elijah Moore. Like that was cool because that's different than what we were used to watching last year with Kevin Patullo, which was very still. So to see that type of action, it almost reminded me of Matt LaFleur and them using Jaden Reed in those jet sweeps a lot of times, just get the ball in their hands of, a playmaker of that ilk. So definitely it was good to see that. It was good to see some trips formation too, again, because the Eagles offense was very still last year. It was good to see that as well. And yeah, offensively, like I said, there wasn't really much to talk about. Defensively, there were some good things. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. definitely looks like he's a starting caliber linebacker. Definitely looked like the shades of his dad out there playing, running around on the field, making plays. Like, definitely think he's gonna be playing more defensive snaps this year because it just seems like he's just really in sync and just really comfortable and just building off the buzz that I think he's had since the start of training camp. AJ Epinesa, I thought he was really active on that defensive line, which is good because last year this team were struggling to find solid veteran defensive pass rush, solid pass rushers, veterans at that, that can be productive. So I thought he was productive as well. And even Ty Robinson, the second-year defensive lineman, I was happy to see him show a little bit, make some plays, get some pressures, because last year I think a lot of people thought that he was going to be a part of the defensive line rotation and be an impact player, especially based off of what he showed in college at Nebraska. It's like, oh, this guy's going to come in, just defensive tackle room, going to just fall right in line. When Davis and Carter need a break, like you just throw him out there on the field with a Jomo and they can run. Didn't really happen, but it was good to see him make some plays. And even Fangio mentioned it, saying that I don't know. I don't know what the quote verbatim was, but he said something about Ty Robinson was on life support. Now he's not, or something like that. It was very Vic Fangio-esque. But I think if you're Robinson, I think now the test for him is just going to keep on stacking these joint practices. But then you got to take what you did in these joint practices and stack them into the game, because I think that's what matters the most, right? Practice, but what do you put out on film? Not only for the Eagles, but for other teams. And I think that's for all these guys that playing in the preseason, like taking what you're doing in practice and then applying that to, the actual preseason game.
Hey, leave it to the guy behind you in that poster to talk about practice.
Yeah. Gotta love it, right?
Sticking with the UFL talk, though, I see Shaun Wade had a forced fumble.
Yes. Shaun Wade, former Chicago Bear, right? Former Bear DB. I think last year he was actually with the Bears last year.
He spent a little time here, I believe, yeah.
And then they cut him, but obviously they kept Nashawn Wright, and that was a good move, obviously. Right. But yeah, Shaun Wade had a forced fumble. It was actually a good play. Guy out there played with the Renegades this season, I believe, with Austin Reed. He gave up a catch. I forgot who it was on for the Ravens, but he gave up a catch, got turned around, but did not give up on the play. Ran after the guy. It wasn't the typical peanut punch, but he was able to punch the ball out to cause the forced fumble. So it was good to see him not give up on the play and not quit, because a lot of guys, when they get turned around like that, they'll just like lose all sight of sort. Like he did not. He did get the forced fumble. So that was good. Really excited. I want to see what he can do, and also what Eric Ekuzama can do, who's also a UFL guy he was with the DC Defenders this year. Interested to see what he can do. He actually caught the Eagles' lone score at the end of the game. Cole Payton rolled out to the pocket and threw it in the back of the end zone to Ekuzama. Really excited to see what he can do as a UFL guy, and seeing if it's going to be tough to make the 53 man roster, but interested to see if him and Shaun Wade can maybe sneak their way onto the practice squad, which would not be the worst thing in the world, especially for these UFL guys, because they've played so much football this year. Like they at least played about 10 games in the regular season in the UFL in the spring. So yeah, if they don't make the 53, but they get on the practice squad, that's not the worst thing in the world for them.
No, and like you said, I mean, these guys are coming in. They're already calloused. They're ready to go. Not to say these guys, the NFL guys won't be come regular season, but looks like these guys are making plays and again, ready to go and battling for that job.
Yeah, for sure. So last two topics on the first episode here on Road to Sunday. We got to talk about, since we were already talking about practice. Let's talk about joint practices. It seems like joint practices have become all the buzz in the NFL the last couple of years, and especially this week. It seems like there's been a lot of fisticuffs happening, fist flyings, and German suplexes happening at joint practices. It seems like they are becoming all the buzz, Chris. It seems like, in today's NFL, it's almost rare if a team doesn't have a joint practice, because I feel like they're using them as a supplement for a preseason game. If like, we don't have to play our starters in a preseason game, let's use this joint practice as the preseason game for our starters. What are your thoughts on joint practices, and more the sense of, do you think they are, worth it, or better yet, what are their worth in today's NFL?
I mean, I like them. Again, as you mentioned, it's rare when a team nowadays doesn't have a joint practice. I remember going back 10 years ago, and I mean,
it was a foreign concept.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, certainly in the Lovie Smith and the Mark Trestman days, which hopefully that's the one and only time I ever have to mention that name. It just didn't happen. Those weren't a thing, at least for the Chicago Bears teams back then. Now,
right.
Of course, this is Ben Johnson's second year here, but even, Eberflus would do them. I'm sure Nagy had a couple joint practices. I don't know offhand though, but it's really picked up the last, say, 5, 6, 7 years. And I'm fine with one. I mean, I don't really understand two.
Yeah.
You're the preseason is already just 3 weeks, so 2 of those weeks you're doing the joint practices, then you're playing the game itself. And as you mentioned, a lot of these teams, the Bears included, it seems like they take these joint practices and get more out of it than the game. So most of the starters don't play in those preseason games, which I'm fine with,
Right.
because I actually do like joint practices. I just think I think seeing 2 teams for joint practices in a preseason in a matter of 3 weeks, I think is a little too much. So I'm not against it at all. I just would like to see it be narrowed down a little bit more. And all right, you meet this one team week 2 of the preseason, get a couple practices in with them, and then that's it for the joint practices. Get your game 3 out of the way, and then prepare for the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take on that. I'm certainly not against it. I actually really like it. I just think it's becoming too much of a norm now, to where now teams are scheduling 2 teams in the matter of just 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that the back to back on the joint practice is a little crazy because it's like again, but it's because teams are using it as that de facto workaround for their starters because they don't want to put their starters out on the field per se. Even though we've seen some teams throw their starters out there and let them get there and let them get some running because that. And I think for me, I think that's the thing where joint practices, while they're great in theory, because like you said, mostly it's 4-1s on both sides to really like run their plays and formations. It doesn't really mimic the game feel, the game
Right.
action, the game speed. And then like you said, it's already bad enough that one preseason game has already been cut. So now you're only down to 3 weeks. And if your starters are doing back to back joint practices, they're not even playing in the preseason. So it's usually your backups and your third string and guys on practice squad, which are, getting the game film, which I have no problem with at all because these guys, they need the game film. You can't move up in football and move around in football without game film. You
Right.
need to have that, like, regardless. Now, would it be nice to see, the starters go out there, maybe just not even, maybe run just like 5 plays, 10 plays? Yeah. Get a quick drive in, get in
Mm-hmm.
and out. Yeah. I totally am not opposed to that. Opposed to that myself. I think for me, when it comes to joint practices, like I said, I don't like that it takes so it I don't I my issue with joint practices is that we now get to the point where we get to the regular season and we wonder why 3 weeks into the regular season scoring is down or
Right.
the offenses aren't in sync and the defenses are ahead because defense is always going to be ahead of the offense,
Yeah.
but the offense isn't ahead and you're like, and I think that's how most people treat like, oh, the first month of the season is just really just an extension of preseason because these guys are still getting in a rhythm. They're still getting into the game film.
And I hate that. I hate that excuse, man.
It's crazy. It's a terrible excuse because then it goes back to then what are you doing? What have you
Right.
been doing in practice this whole time? Like
Right.
you should be coming out clicking on all cylinders. But again, joint practice doesn't mimic the game speed or like how
Exactly.
things happen. Like defensive linemen can't hit quarterbacks. You got to hold up.
Right.
You got to pull up. You can't do that in regular training camp practice either. But there's just certain things that you can't mimic in a joint practice that you can so mimic in in a game. So
Right.
we'll
Because they're more like controlled environments.
yeah,
The coaches have a control on it, and when they don't, um, you
it's
see
like
skirmishes like the
it's like a
Cowboys and Saints
glorified spring
yesterday.
game.
Exactly, exactly. So I get it, and I like joint practices. I get it, and the whole controlled environment, that makes sense. But you are putting your team at, and I'm not trying to speak against joint practices. I'm for them, but you could be putting them in danger as well because you're going against another team. They could give 2 shits about your health. So
Yeah,
if someone is really battling for that job, and he got to the quarterback by
by
accident,
mistake, right?
you know, um, and then that's when you get the skirmishes that we seen the other day, like with the Saints and the Cowboys. But
Mhm.
again, I get that's a rarity. That's not a huge topic. I think coaches in general teams like it because they're finally going up
Another
against
team.
another team.
Yeah.
So I get that, and that gives another edge to the whole practice as well. And coaches can kind of control it and see what they want to see out of these practices. But as you said, even if it's preseason, you can't mimic that game day environment, that game day field, that game day feel, and just being out there in an actual game, albeit a preseason game. You cannot mimic that in a practice.
No, you definitely can't. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if more teams do it. If it's now eventually, because if the NFL eventually adds another game to the schedule, obviously what's going to be taken away? Another preseason game.
Yep.
And if that happens, I feel really bad for the guys that are trying to fight for the last spot on the roster, or in a position battle or even practice squad, because how can I evaluate you in 2 preseason games? Like in practice, I can only evaluate you so much because I'm worried about the first teamers. I'm worried about those guys doing their job, like et cetera, et cetera. Like, so it's a very interesting dialogue, and I think that's something that will be continued to be talked about, and seeing how it just materializes, and maybe somebody one day will do a study on like joint practices. Do they have any correlations to the start of the regular season and teams starting slow and offenses starting slow and not being extinct? Which then leads me to our last topic of the night, last point on the show. Speaking of offense, Keenan Allen, yes, former Chicago Bear, former Charger twice. He signed with the Indianapolis Colts. I think it was like a 1-year, $8 million deal.
That sounds right.
Dollar deal was kind of surprising and kind of came out of nowhere because obviously this time of the year, for those that don't know, NFL rosters are very fluid this time of the year. You will see guys getting cut, getting signed, veterans, rookies. There's literally tryouts happening every day across the NFL, and the Colts get Keenan Allen, who is joining a very interesting situation in Indy. Chris, when we were talking about it before the show, I totally forgot that Michael Pittman's in Pittsburgh. Alec Pierce is banged up. You got Josh Downs. You got Tyler Warren. You still got
who just went down with a groin injury today in joint practices.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not great, but maybe for Keenan Allen, this could be a good spot for him, depending on which guy kind of shows up.
Right. I mean, he's still been productive. I mean, it feels like he's been in the league forever now, but obviously still wants to play, and he's going to a Colts team that they could really use him right now with, like you said, Michael Pittman now being in Pittsburgh, Alec Pierce down, and I'm not sure when he's going to get back up. You got Tyler Warren, who had a really good, certainly a stellar start to last season, and overall a good rookie season at tight end. I'm not wanting to go into a season with Josh Downs, no disrespect, as my number 1 wide receiver. He might still be that with Keenan Allen there, but at least you're bringing in some much needed veteran help there. And of course, Daniel Jones. I mean, can he replicate, even half of what he did last season? That's going to be the big question, because Indianapolis is certainly banking on it. And if he could, then they could be in a good spot, and this could be a really good spot for Keenan Allen.
Yeah, it could. And what makes this a really good spot for Keenan Allen? Like, even last year, he played in all 17. I think he only started in 3, but still had over 70 catches, had over 700 yards, and that was what the Chargers offense that had Quentin Johnston, that had Ladd McConkey, that had Oronde Gadsden, had a solid run game. Like, had all those things, that he still was productive. Even the year with the Bears that didn't go, to playing with Eberflus and Shane Waldron and me and you calling plays at OC, he still was productive. It didn't feel like the Keenan Allen-esque year that he usually had, but that year with Chicago was very, very dysfunctional on offense. And
I think he still led the team in receptions and touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he had 7 touchdowns, I think, that year, which is impressive, because it wasn't like a consistent He scored here. He scored
No,
here. He scored here. It was just
he
like,
turned it on more like midway and end of season. Early on, it was kind of a disaster.
yeah. And you were having those thoughts like, is he washed? Like,
Yeah.
what's happening here? And then now he enters a situation in Indianapolis where, like you said, there's Alec Pierce, there's Josh Downs, there's Ashton Dolan, Anthony Gold, Nick Westbrook Akine.
Laquan Treadwell's still alive.
Yes, he is. Leatherneck legend there, Laquan Treadwell, Deion Burks, 7th rounder in this year's draft. It's really, I mean, it's really wide open for Keenan Allen, where he can be like the number 1 wide receiver
Oh,
when it's
yeah.
all said and done. And maybe that probably why he got signed, because he probably sees a situation here where it's like, I can go here, get my touches,
Yep.
get touchdowns, and really capitalize in an offense that doesn't have the bona fide number 1, even though they paid Alec Pierce to be that number 1. I just like with you, like I don't think he's number 1 guy. He's like a low tier wide receiver 2. Like he's not bona fide number 1. Like he's not a number 1 like how DJ Moore was a number 1. If that makes sense.
Correct. And I'm sure it's very enticing this time of the year, too, for Keenan Allen. Hey, I got to miss out on 3 weeks of training camp. Sign me up.
Exactly. Who we all know, especially this time of year, the vets that haven't been signed, they love rolling into training camp. Be like, all right, missed a few weeks of training camp. All right, let's get in the game shape. So we will probably likely see more veterans signed over the next couple of weeks as we get into the lead up into free agent, not a free agency, into lead up to week 1. We saw the Zadarius Smith sign with the Falcons. We saw did not see that coming because it seemed like he was supposed to go to Cleveland.
Right.
But then something happened and he's with his boy Stefanski in Atlanta, and Atlanta needs pass rush because obviously Jalen Walker is done for the year with the ACL, and then James Pierce Jr. is suspended for the first 8 games, so he's going to get Smith is going to get some play there. And then we also saw Najee Harris sign with the New York Giants, which was very interesting given that they have Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterboo. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out because Harris is coming off the ACL too.
Yeah, I think it was the ACL with the
Chargers. Yeah, so he's coming off that. So we got that. We had Trayvon Diggs signed with the Seattle Seahawks, which is a very interesting fit for them. But they can always use more depth just because they don't know what's going to happen with Terrion Arnold in that situation. So taking a flyer on Diggs, and if you're Diggs, where's the best way to rebuild your capital with the defending Super Bowl champions playing in that defense?
Yeah,
playing next to Devon Witherspoon, Josh Jobe, Nick Emenware, like.
Yeah, that's a great place to get slotted into, man.
Yeah, it's a real great place to be slotted into. So, like I said, we will probably see a lot of more signings happening. Wonder what the Texans will do in terms of wide receiver market with Jaden Higgins going down with the ACL.
Hate to see that
because I thought he played really good last year. Like he started to figure out his role within that offense as that big target for CJ Stroud. So
totally a different wide receiver type, but hopefully Tank Dell gets back into action, man. Would love to see that.
They're going to need him badly, and that's why I thought Higgins worked so well for them because he was, when Dell gets healthy, that perfect complement of him, Dell, Jalen Noel,
stacked. Nico Collins,
Nico Collins, like it all. Collins, Higgins, Dell is like that works, and now without Higgins, that like totally tanks that because now you lose your bigger wide receiver. Maybe Jalen Noel gets a little bit more, but he's not more the bigger wide receiver type. There's more of his Xavier Hutchinson, but I think Hutchinson, he is what he is at this point. He's not moving the needle. But as you can see, we could talk so much more about transactions here on the road to Sunday. But that's where we're going to wrap here on this first episode. What a great show. Like I said, like we said earlier, so glad to be doing this with Chris, breaking down, like I said, from the Bears perspective, Eagles perspective, and like we saw at the end, breaking it all down from the NFL. It should be a good one. There's no socials for this, which is totally fine because you know where you will find this at. This episode will be uploaded to the Total Sports Live Total Sports Live podcast feed. So if you just search TSL podcast, you will find the Road to Sunday episodes right there. YouTube, don't know. There is a Total Sports Live YouTube page out there, so we'll upload it there. Shoot, Chris might even upload it on his YouTube page as well. So you can check it out on all platforms, all places that you want to check it out at. Make sure you check out totalsportslive.com as well. Got some couple new stories up there this past couple weeks. This past week, obviously, we had 3 takeaways from the preseason week 1, which was not much to talk about, but there was. And I think I had a CFL story on the website this week about Trey Ford making a ridiculous pass crossbody for 41 yards to Carrick Wheatfall against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So that's on the site, and hopefully more stuff will be on the site. This episode will be uploaded as well on totalsportslive.com. So if you missed it, you can check it out there as well. I think that's everything, Chris. I think we crossed all our T's and dotted all our I's on this episode.
I think so, man. I thought it went really well and really looking forward to doing this, man.
Yeah, me too. So again, for everyone, for Jovan, Chris Shanafelt here, everybody have a good one, and we will talk to you guys next week looking at preseason week 2 and anything else that happens in the wild west of the NFL. Everyone have a good one.